and welcome to the ESL Premiership Spring Season Finals! That was awesome! Today is all about League of Legends. It's Super Sunday, powered by Windows 10 and Omen by HP. Thank you guys for being marvelous. This is going to be an incredible afternoon and evening. My name's Adam. I'm the main stage host here at Leicester Studio One, bringing you all the action from right here. You can see actually beside me to my right and to my left, this is where our two finalists will be battling it out right here in front of our amazing live studio audience. Guys, let me hear ya! We've got thunder sticks and everything. They're looking glorious. It's all about this trophy. You can see this right here, guys. This is going to be the winner's trophy later on today. But it's not just about this trophy. It's also the winning team will get a chance to compete in the Challenger Series qualifiers as well. So it's all on the line. Big things to play for. And these two teams are really good. You're going to see some serious League of Legends here today. Now, it's not only about myself, not about our amazing audience, but it's also about our incredible team of casters and analysts at our desk host. As if Thor and James Bond, and maybe a bit of the milk tray man, had a baby. Alex Machine Richardson. But guys, make some noise for our casters and analysts! There we go indeed. Now, you guys are very important at home as well, and as well as here in a live studio audience, as keeping the hype alive is really important. We want you guys at home to make sure you use the hashtag ESL Prem on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all that stuff. Get your questions in, your theories, your predictions on who's going to take each game, who is going to win this series final as well. We really want to hear from you guys. Make sure you make that happen. Hopefully some of the guys later on will read out some of what you guys have to say. Now, before we meet our two teams, I think it's time that we cast our minds back, folks. Let's cast our minds back to some of the heroes and villains that have graced this stage before. Let's take a closer look at some of the ESL Premiership Hall of Fame people. Let's go.
Impaler does have the flash body slam. He goes in, he flash body slams, Zodiac heals, but this is not going to be enough. The binding is, though. Impaler's going to be down. No! Boomerang blade! Impaler survives! The Eye of the Storm! Choke! Gaming on the back foot, and there's the kill! Impaler takes him down!
And that's kind of a whole lot just been used from FM. Maxlaw getting hit Kino into the AD carry! Alfari finishes him off. That was beautiful from Maxlaw. There's a double kill for Alfari. Nutri gonna go down as well.
They're going to push onto this mid lane turret now. Haddo gets caught.
Haddo's in trouble. True Shot Barrage is going to go through. The tower did go down, but Haddo actually survives this one. Maxlaw very close to going down. Last respite. K-Draw just single-handedly wins the fight right there. Triple kill comes through for Yuki. Nutri gets absolutely annihilated. MnM are on the front foot. They're looking to take this game into their own hands. Another kill goes the way of Smiley. Double for him, and now he looks for Rifty as well. There's the triple, and he's looking for more.
Hall of Fame people, that's a new one. Guys, make some noise for our Hall of Famers! Now, one of our two teams today could enter that amazing roster as well. I think it's time that we met the teams. What do you think, guys? Is it time? Make some noise with those thunderclappers. Come on, make some noise. 4 people. That's good. Let's make it 5 next time. Guys, let's get an enormous round of applause for our first finalist of the day. Make some noise for Team Xenex! Good detour on the right-hand side, love that. Okay, you can see our first finalist just here, guys, but it's time to meet our other challengers today. Make some noise, audience, for MnM Gaming! All right. I can see everyone really eyeing up the trophy behind me. It is exciting times. I'm going to ask our two representatives, Prosfair, Candy Floss, step forward, guys. Come and have a chat to me here. Coming to you first, Prosfair. You're in the final. This must be very exciting for you and the team.
Yeah, as a combination of players who've first time on a team or who've been bottom of the other ESL splits, being in the final this split it's a real improvement and it's a really exciting opportunity, and we're going to hope to have a good match.
Now, in terms of the team and the highlights leading up to this, what's been some of the best for you guys getting here to this final?
I think just a chance to build our reputation as a team that wins off macro play and not individual strengths, which is something quite unique to the UK scene. Normally the winning team just has the better players win lane, win game. So being able to build a reputation as a team that doesn't just fit the mold is quite good.
And as a team that is, you haven't had too many opportunities to play LAN in front of a live audience. Is it even more exciting being here in front of the gang here?
I'm more nervous than I am in our online matches, but hopefully I can play to my usual level and it's not going to affect our play.
Don't be nervous, you look cool as a cucumber, fair. Coming over to you as well, Candy Floss, love that name, that's sweet. What a sweet name that is. That's an awful pun. How are you guys feeling? Are you excited to be here in the final?
Yeah, I'm really excited to be here in the final, but we're a little bit nervous because the enemy team, they've got a lot of private coaching from LS, so it puts us at a significant disadvantage.
And for you guys as well, how excited are you to be here playing in front of this live audience? Guys, make some noise again, please. Make some noise, come on! It's quite fun having all this control. I love it a lot. How excited are you guys to play in front of this live audience here on a LAN event?
Yeah, it's a dream come true to me personally. I've been working towards this my whole life, so.
Sincerity at its finest. Guys, let's make some noise again for Team Xenex and MnM Gaming! Guys, do take your seats, please, fellas. Do get behind your stations. Well, it is underway. We're about to see who is going to be our victor in this ESL Premiership Spring Season Finals series. Let's head over to our casters and analysts and my man Machine to find out what they think ahead of our first game. Over to you, boys.
Thank you so much, Adam. I seriously don't recognize you anymore. Your days at Mythbusters, you looked almost entirely different. So good to have you with us, though, taking time out of your busy schedule. I'm your host, Alex Machine Richardson, joining me now to pick the brains of these League of Legends minds. I have furthest down, we have, of course, Josh Ferndog, and we have, of course, Serge / and this is the most English name ever, despite him telling me he's not actually English. Scudsy is joining us as well. I feel like, that's the name of someone on my block.
I feel like I belong. I'm loving
it. You
do?
Yeah, you belong here. You do. And hopefully you're going to help, enlighten me about what we've got to look forward to over the coming, well, I was going to say hours, it could be days at this point in time. It's a full best of 5, and it did seem like there were some nerves on stage. What do you make of that? What do you make of Xenex interview, first of all, hearing it Ferndog saying macro play is usually win lane, win game. Does that kind of resonate with you?
Yeah, you're definitely going to see two different styles today, and I think Prosper highlighted that. There's him who's talking about his own team being a macro-orientated team, and then I assume he's talking about MnM, who are perhaps known more for their individual talent and skill.
Okay, so the individual talent and skill up against macro play. I mean, is this a question? Do we start already just discussing the fact that the meta does favor one over the other, or is it just down to if they have the macro play necessary, Serge?
I mean, as we can see clearly, and as Prosper stated before, since these are new players coming into new teams, going straight from barely even qualifying last season to straight to the final, they've clearly been putting in the work, and it really shows that hard work does pay off, and you can get to the final by just putting in work. And evidently, they're facing off one of the top teams and the victors of the previous season of the ESL. So.
Perfect. Yeah, and that hard work is evident in their way to these grand finals. That's what we're going to take a look at first of all, their road to the finals. We took a quick look back at how Xenex found themselves in this position alongside MnM.
This could be Xenex just getting a free Drake here. I don't even know if Enclave can respond, but they're going to try.
Yeah, call comes on through. Shockwave onto Reclamation. He will flash. Actually, interesting Camille up there, but Inax now getting pushed away. Look how spread out this fight is. Beely goes down as well. 2 members here from Enclave. Good knock onto Shikari. Jakamaka, though, gets chunked on down. Look how low the Xenex health bars are, but it doesn't matter. Prelude doesn't have the damage to finish them at this point. Neither does Range Expire. He goes down. Safeguard comes on through. Prelude cannot finish them off. Double kill lands for Inax. And look at the juggling of aggro. Look at this, everybody's moved over to the side. Beely will get locked up and finished off in the end. It is going to be Inax traded over though as Shikari on this front line trying to escape. Prelude doesn't need to though. Range Expire just trying to escape as well as Shikari jumps on forward, gets the slowdown. Shockwave onto 2 as it's a double kill for Buckland. And this is going to be not only a double kill, but a double game. Xenex are going to take this series 2-0 with a convincing second game.
That's good.
Going to get some vision here for Larssen. It's going to be Nocturnal Plex versus Larssen. Larssen pops the edge of night. He jumps in. There's the ultimate. Nocturnal Plex uses his Lamb's Respite, and Larssen decides to back out. He flashes away, comes back in with the ultimate shadow.
That was a nice little outplay coming out from Larssen.
Checking the Baron out, in comes Luders, a lot of damage going down. Already Larssen picks up one, Luders uses the ultimate, will get taken out by Jokerism, but Larssen comes in, lands another kill. And now it's Haddo taking on Nocturnal Plex and Tolkien. He will escape with his life. Larssen does want blood, but he will have to suffice with 2 kills for now.
In the meantime, though, here comes Candy Floss. He's got the on-hit, he's got the spread damage, and he gets a double kill. Tolkien arrives, though, to save his mid laner, but not for long as Zivis goes down on the back line, and Tolkien will pay with his life. It's another kill for Larssen, and it will be the mid lane in him.
It's not even the mid lane, this is game for MnM. They have secured their place in the final right now, and I don't think there's anything XL can do about it.
A truly romantic story for Xenex. They were at the bottom of the barrel for oh so long, and now they stand undefeated on the grand final stage of our spring season here for the ESL Premiership. Quite wonderful to see just how much that teamwork, team ethic and sticking together can indeed get some work done. And now they stand against MnM, arguably the stronger players. Well, we can remind you, of course, the other teams that were competing. We'll bring up the standings and cast our eyes among them. The first thing that stands out to me is there is an agent amongst us. It is indeed 007 Team Pariah. And any word on them, or is this just a case of just in too deep, in above their heads? What do you think, Josh?
I think they just weren't up to the level of the other teams. Okay. Whether that was from a coaching perspective and they had the work behind them in the back room, or whether that was just the individual players themselves. Yeah. They struggled against everyone that they came up against. There were some better showings in some weeks than others, but ultimately never enough to get them again.
Yeah. Now, Serge, you talked to me a bit about that XL replay we saw just towards the end on that road there. That was actually the only loss we saw conceded by Xenex, was them playing up against XL. But what is the story there? Because there's a bit more than meets the eye.
Yeah, in the best of 3 during the regular season leading up to the Premiership, XL was able to take 1 game, and I think the only game away from Xenex. As you can see, they're 6-1 up on the screen. And yeah, other than that, Xenex absolute clean sweep, dominating the ladders right up to the top. And yeah, XL and MnM, the story behind that, on the last week leading up to the finals of the Prem, basically XL had to 2-0 MnM to get into the finals. Oof. In order to get into the final spot, it had to be a clean 2-0 sweep, and yeah, as you can see from the replay, yeah, it didn't happen since MnM took the first game. Leading up to the second game, it was a bit suboptimal gameplay, judging by some of the picks we saw in that replay.
Absolutely. And I mean, just finally, closing thoughts while we do have the standings up, Josh. I mean, are there any teams that you are surprised to not see standing on this stage? I presume, and from what it seems, the general vibe and consensus is that Xenex topping the table was a surprise to some. So who would you in mind have seen taking that position? Who have Xenex bested?
I think that if people were asked at the start of the split who they would believe to be sitting here today, I think most teams would have said XL and MnM. Right. Maybe with Xenex just dropping out. But as a result, you can see it's completely different actually. Xenex are above both of those teams and have outperformed expectations. But again, it would be a sad day for XL on that day they lost to MnM. That I truly believe that they would have hoped that they could get here today. But
yeah. Well, I mean, it is beautiful to see what Xenex have achieved, and MnM. Of course, they were expected to find themselves here in our Leicester studio, Studio 1, in I was about to say the centre of Leicester. We're kind of in the outskirts. I saw a fox yesterday. It was really cool. Either way, we should go ahead and check it out. It is MnM. We took an opportunity just to have a quick chat with some of them ahead of this game. Nerves on stage. Let's see if there were some nerves in that interview as well.
My name is Ashley Rifty, or Tempo, currently Maze, and I play top lane for MnM.
The key player on MnM this split was Larssen. Whenever he comes in, we perform much better. He just puts the team really together really well.
This season, this meta, our playstyle has definitely been sort of more top-centric, which is quite nice. I've never been on a team like that. And me and Candy definitely come from a strong force from the top and jungle.
We definitely have some strategies prepared for Xenex. Operation hasn't been as much as we wanted to, but I still think we'll come in strong in today's games.
Some people may see us underdogs because Xenex plays first in the Premiership. I think Xenex is the underdogs because they're not as good of players.
The ace up our sleeve is our top laner. He is miles ahead of every other top lane in UK, and better watch out for him.
Getting to hear there from MnM and Tempo. We've seen a lot of him. You can see he's getting some praise from his teammates, damaging in the top lane ahead of anyone else in the UK. Does that resonate with you, Josh? Does that sound about right for Tempo?
Definitely. Rifty or Tiempo is someone who is probably the most motivated member of MnM right now, I would imagine. He's been to the final twice, once with Manalite and once with Epiphany Bolt, and it is not quite made it either time. And I'm sure this will be the one where he, third time lucky, he wants to kind of turn that curse around, I guess.
It is a curse that he'll be willing to break in this best of 5. Now, they said they got some strats prepared. When you have a team like Xenex, which we've already spoken about, we've highlighted the fact that they are strategy heavy to an extent. Is this idea of kind of anti-stratting or having a preparation ahead of them more of an advantage than normal? Relying on those?
I mean, definitely. You know, Team Xenex, when I spoke to them in the past couple of days and earlier on today, they've had a lot of preparation going into this best of 3. They've been doing, double block scrims on weekends, which is unheard of for the UK scene, to be honest. Which is, they're really dedicated. They're really determined to win this Prem and sort of break the MnM curse and not let them get the 2 streak of the ESL victory.
Well, with the 5 names on screen, and Tempo has already been highlighted by none other than Ferndog, is there anyone else that leaps out as someone to watch as we do head into this one?
I'd say Larson is definitely a key player to sort of keep an eye for, because as we previously seen this ESL season before when MnM faced Xenex earlier on in the season, they had Charlie T for the mid lane instead of Larson, their usual mid laner who they've had ever since the Manalite days, which seems like a really long time ago now. And it's interesting to see how the synergy will go on between Candy Floss and Larson, trying to get him the snowball potential that he needs to be the hard carry that MnM needs to secure the victories.
Of course, MnM would not be able to compete in the grand final without their opponents. And standing just opposite them on the stage is none other than Team Xenex, a team that have surprised and will perhaps continue to surprise on this grand final stage. But first, let's meet them and hear what they had to say ahead of the final.
My name is Niha Aliyev, my in-game name is Xenex, and I play ADC for Team Xenex. I think definitely Backlund has a lot of impact in the team in terms of mechanical skill, but I think Prosper's shot calling and his draft and pick and ban has been a key.
We combine strengths quite well, and I think just a bit of luck really is sort of, we mesh well together.
I think Larson is the player we need to look out for in MnM Gaming.
Because he's so much better than any of the other mids that we've had to play against yet.
Looking at our split performance, we're most likely to win, and I'm pretty confident that we will.
While I expect us to win, I think it will be a good series and a close one. So our coach Higgsy has LCS experience, and I think the sort of value he'll bring us on stage is our ace.
MnM are going to get roasted 3-0.
Roasted marshmallows on the menu for Xenex. I like it. Still, we do hear lots of wise words suggesting although it will be a win, it will be a close one. And Prosper has been someone that we've been mentioning an awful lot of. What do we make of this one, Josh? Team Xenex, and how that's going to translate here.
Okay. I believe 4 of those players, Shikari, Sankus, Inax, and Prosper, are very much in the same boot. They're where we spoke about earlier, they're players that have been in the scene on previous teams that haven't quite made it or haven't quite reached the potential that they perhaps are showing now.
Sure.
The one that stands out for me that's different to that is Backlund. This is actually his first competitive split in the UK, and I believe anywhere else also. And he's someone who's coming in, shown complete talent, raw talent, and has dominated all the mid lane matchups he's come up against. But the one he hasn't come up against yet, which is what Scudzy spoke about just a minute ago, is Larson, and that's going to be the real interesting point for today.
Okay, so eyes locked on the mid lane for the first game. That's going to be fun to see. Larson versus Backlund. Keep your eyes on him. Now, we heard a lot of nerves, some shaky words coming out from admittedly both sides, but Xenex have already admitted that it was a different environment to be competing in, from sitting in your living room, sitting in your bedroom, to standing here on the stage with a crowd, with the lights and with the noise.
Definitely. I think one of the factors that can usually be overlooked in terms of online play is the nerves and the sort of mental preparation of a player going into a game like this. Me speaking from personal experience, it was a lot easier sort of playing online compared to going to a LAN and playing live on stage. I definitely think the nerves and the stress that this can have on a player and the stamina that you require to go in for potentially 5 games will we'll definitely we'll be able to see if they're going to crack.
Josh, would you say there's an argument there that the teams that can perform on this stage and in this environment deserve the win more? It's an element that does a characteristic that's necessary to be a champion.
Yeah, and I think that's what differentiates the group stages. And of course, we've seen Xenex get more points in the normal group stages than MnM. But there's a different element, just like you said, between doing that in the comfort of your own home to doing that here in front of a live crowd, with your teammates live, and how you interact with those, how you are on the day, taking in the correct amount of information and then relaying that to your team while under pressure. It's a different kind of element to the way that you actually communicate and work as a team.
Exactly.
I'm excited to see how this one does shape up. You set the scene oh so beautifully, but to help do just that, we are going to remind both our viewers at home and us here in the studio what happened last time these two teams did meet. Because indeed, this will not be the first time these titans clash of UK League of Legends. It is Xenex versus MnM. Let's take a quick look back what happened last time.
When MnM faced Xenex in the group stages, things all seemed to be fairly even. Skirmishes galore happened across the map, but MnM were able to squeeze out a small lead for themselves. MnM is, after all, a team that is able to mechanically dominate opponents and push small advantages into huge leads. But unfortunately for them, Xenex's macro game was on point. The longer the games went on, the more Xenex started to dominate. With awesome teamfight prowess on top of great vision control and objective priority, MnM were left wishing for a miracle as the vice was slowly but surely tightened by Xenex. Now, in the finals, MnM have a stable roster and a second shot at redemption. But will it be enough to take on the near-flawless powerhouse that is Team Xenex? Only time will tell.
There you go, some esports ASMR from Munchables there, as you just takes you on a quiet and deep journey through League of Legends. Beautiful stuff. We'll be hearing more from Munchables when we do get into the game, but we're not there yet. First, it is draft time. That's right, those pick and bans are just around the corner. I'm going to take my time with that one. It's a lot of deviations and vocabulary you've got to get right if you don't want the internet people to be angry at you. You know that. Serge and Josh are going to be the brains I get to pick with this one. It is just around the corner. Now, just quickly, like, we can set the scene for perhaps anyone that's unfamiliar. What our expectations are, where the meta stands at this point in time. What are almost kind of guaranteed bans to picks coming into this game? What do you say, Josh?
Okay, I think that's something that's slightly changed. With regards to guaranteed.
Sure.
The very high tier 100% pick bans have kind of fallen away, and you're now seeing much more variation.
Sure.
And it's very targeted towards your opponent as opposed to specific picks and bans that have to go or have to be taken.
Well, does this make sense so far? We're going to be seeing Cat and Graves taken by one, and we're seeing Mals and Lulu removed by Xenex.
Yeah, for me, the Xenex bans make complete sense. Hado has shown a huge amount of priority on that Lulu. And that's something that you don't want to deal with in this current meta. It's so good at buffing AD carries to an extent where it leaves you little answer, and that's something that definitely works for MnM, and it has worked for them several times in the past.
I actually wanted to bring up, I'm a big fan of the jungle matchups and the jungle meta, obviously being a jungle player myself. I was really excited to see possibly some jungle aggression with the Graves coming out. I know both Candyfloss and Sankas, big fan of that Graves and the Ivern, but both the jungle bans getting taken away during the first banning phase, leaving not really as many on the board. The Rengar and the Kha'Zix still available, maybe some Elise still seeing some play.
I think unless Candyfloss is going to take something, so what I was going to say, unless he's going to take something obscure, they have to take their jungler here, because of the situation with the bans. The top other two tier junglers have been taken away, Graves and Ivern, like you said, so they had to go for something positive there.
Yeah, this doesn't really leave an awful lot for Xenex that can respond into the Rengar. Kha'Zix is possible, very famous matchup.
I think this is taken here to prevent MnM actually getting hold of the Shen. The Shen with the Rengar is a very devastating combo where you can be super aggressive into the backline, and then you can allow Shen to ult on top of that Rengar and not let him die ever. So,
And then you're going to be seeing picking up the Caitlyn as well. I guess that's going to be the AD carries locked in alongside Mr. Ashe.
Yeah. I would expect MnM to pick their bot lane here for the purpose that Haddo's two probably high choice for supports, Malzahar and Lulu, are off the map, and if they didn't take it here, there's a chance that Xenex focus that area even more and really deny Haddo's champion pool.
No, Crossfair last night actually mentioned he's a big fan of the melee supports possibly coming back into meta. I know he mentioned Tom Kench, he's a big fan and he's quite eager to play it, and it could actually be good into this matchup, a Rengar matchup, a Caitlyn defense with the Tom Kench Devour could be of use.
Yeah, there's not much of a stronger bot lane actually than for outright lane pressure than Ashe Karma, and you're going to see, even though Caitlyn's very strong in lane herself, she has a mid lane kind of power trough, mid game power trough, but in the early game she's very powerful. But alongside a melee support like Tom Kench, Karma and Ashe are going to have huge pressure in that bot lane, and it will require resources by Xenex to kind of swing the natural lane matchup.
So is that going to put additional pressure on the jungle then for Xenex?
Yeah, it's going to somewhat force Xenex's hand on the type of plays they've made, but they've got Shen, so this is something that's quite easy to achieve for them and quite achievable. And realistically, there's a few various ways that teams deal with Shen. Quite often they either late swap or you try and match the play yourself.
Gragas actually getting taken away. We haven't seen much play from it this season so far, but maybe they've done some inside scouting. Sankas has been seen to play some Gragas in the previous solo queue games the past couple of weeks, and obviously they thought it's threatening enough to take it away.
I think there's a slight mistake here, quite possibly, by Xenex by not taking their jungler in the first pick phase. And because they've taken Tom Kench, they're going to lose lane anyway in terms of the lane matchup, but it's also opened up Sankas to another 2 jungle bans after Graves and Ivan were already taken away in the first rotation, and actually leave Xenex wanting for some kind of jungle pick that's available. I guess there's Elise. Kha'Zix is still available too. So there are some options. I think Kha'Zix works pretty well alongside the Shen. And also the Tahm Kench. You can be really aggressive on that Kha'Zix and be protected by that. But I'm not sure what Sanks will favour. So it is Elise.
Okay, so we have the jungle locked in after having a flurry of jungle bans thrown against them. Xenex did choose to go for Elise, and now
Vladimir hover.
It's being hovered.
It got buffed on 7.4, I believe, and is actually quite favourable, but it's normally not blind picked, it's normally counter picked to some of these all-in assassins, which Vladimir can deal with very well, but blind pick would be a bit more unusual actually.
It's gone for
locked
it.
in, Vladimir lock in. Okay. Blind pick, that is quite brave.
And so they had to blind pick their mid there, and they're going to counter pick into Shen. There is actually even a possibility that is Vladimir top. I think it's somewhat unlikely, but some teams have played around with the possibility of that, and it would be fine into Shen, and it would out-sustain Shen's damage while pressuring Shen and make Shen actually quite difficult to be able to ult into his team, which is something MnM really want right now. Okay. So there's Poppy. That confirms the Vlad's mid.
Putting Rifty back into his natural habitat with the Poppy lock-in.
And now we're going to see what Xenex play into MnM. By picking the Vladimir, I think it's quite safe from MnM. I think it somewhat kind of signifies that Larssen actually might not want a skill matchup versus Backland. He might actually want to settle the nerves in game 1 and play out a matchup where he knows he's not going to get all in and actually lose the lane. And that could be a reason why they went for the Vlad.
Okay, so you get Cassiopeia versus Vlad. That's going to be a matchup.
It's a very, very hard scaling sort of team from Xenex compared to the MnM gaming. Should be looking to make a lot of picks throughout the early to mid game. As soon as Ashe hits that 6, maybe start to group and get that 1-3-1 going, possibly with the Vladimir split push. And Xenex are going to require quite a lengthy amount of time before they get in a position where they're comfortable to fight with the Cassiopeia and the Caitlyn needing quite a lot of items.
With regards to Xenex's comp, kind of levels 1 to 5 are going to be extremely important for the Elise and her ability to make things happen. It's not very easy to gank. Well, there's not easy lanes there to gank actually. What I'd suggest with regards to what I think Xenex should be looking to do is actually put pressure onto the Poppy. Alongside Shen Taunt, alongside Elise, put pressure onto the Poppy, try and blow her TP early, and then once that exists, you know she can't match the Shen ult level 6. And if you can make that play towards bot lane level 6, that's where we're at.
Well, with that said, I mean, the question does remain is who do you believe has taken the advantage once we've seen the draft complete, suggesting that Xenex need to draw this game out. Is that something they're going to be capable of doing versus MnM?
MnM's, their preferred game style, as we've seen in the past, they're very aggressive, very early game orientated. They just get a lead and then they just strangle the opponent and then extend it until they end the game. And it's going to be very difficult for Xenex to drag out the game for as long as possible.
Well, I'm going to force you guys to just give me a team name. Just very quickly, just give me one name for the first game.
I think based on this draft, it's going to be MnM.
That's MnM.
I'm saying MnM.
MnM. 2 for MnM. Let's head over to some marshmallows of our own. It's the casters. It's going to be Munchables and Mr. Foxdrop.
Thank you very much, guys. We are here on the cast desk. We're ready to get into the first game of our grand final here, Xenex against MnM. Our analysts favouring MnM on this one, but we're already onto the rift, jumping straight on into the action here. How are you feeling the draft went, Foxdrop?
I mean, it was very unanimous in MnM's favour from our analysts. Who am I to go against esteemed analysts of our desk? But I think Xenex have a good showing here as well. I mean, I think that Ferndog did bring up some good points. If at least gets things going early games, certainly can get stuff going. And if anyone would want to protect Backlund, who is the shining star, the superstar, so to speak,
yeah,
Tom Kench can do it. So
as can Shen. Like that's one powerful protect the carry composition coming out from Xenex. Could definitely see that come into play later on when we get to sort of the team fight stages of the game, and when we get these skirmishes, especially if we see Candyfloss look for a bottom lane dive, for example, that becomes very difficult into things like Tom Kench.
Yeah, absolutely. You can't really dive a Tom or a Shen really. Well, against like Shen, you can't really dive bot lane or mid lane necessarily. If the Shen ult's up, it just becomes a lot harder. You have to find very specific situations to do it. So these guys are looking for a cheeky invade though.
Yeah, Candyfloss and Tempo heading on in early, looking for at very least some vision. Will they stick around and look for a camp though? That's going to be the question. Ooh. They, I think, want to cheese here. If Backlund leaves, I think they've been spotted though. And this is actually a bad time for them. Candyfloss leaping over, trying to find a way out, trying to steal as many birds as he can on the way. But Tempo taking a huge amount of damage. The Raptor still goes to Sankus. That's disastrous for MnM.
It's pretty bad. I mean, if they could steal some of those mini chickens, I mean, that is the desired start nowadays on junglers. You start on the mini chickens because it gives you a net gain in experience if you go chickens into red as opposed to red into chickens, because the way jungle mechanics work. And they were just trying to maybe steal a few things, but I mean, it's a risky invade on the top side. Like, you know, most likely you're going to get outnumbered on that side, right? So I think there was... Yeah, they didn't really get too much out of that one, and it was risky to start with, to be honest.
It was an interesting one for sure, and Sanka's actually still level 1 as Candyfloss has already hit his level 2. So obviously stole enough chickens to ruin the XP. Hado getting exhausted in the bottom lane, already has to flash away. Prospect looking for the Devour, gets it with a flash, but actually standing underneath the tower, he takes one too many hits, and it's first blood going down 1-1.
Holy moly. I mean, that popped up saying first blood to Tom Kench. I'm pretty sure that's Xenex's net gain, right? Both supports get the kill, though.
Yeah.
If it had gone one, you know, like the AD carry gets a kill on one side and then the support gets killed on the other side, you could say, yeah, pretty good for the AD carry, but...
Unbelievably aggressive game so far.
That was
this
really
is
aggressive.
Not what I was expecting, especially in game 1 on stage here. When you consider that was Xenex going aggressive.
Yeah.
These guys, we've been talking about how there's maybe a little bit of nerves, maybe a bit of stage fright. They don't have this LAN experience. It is not showing right now.
No, if you were going to say, you know what, that looks like a nervous play, I probably wouldn't say a level 2 flash under tower is the kind of play that would make me think that. So that's good though, I like that. I like the fact that, you know, if any of these nerves coming through, they're not letting it get the better of them. They're still going to play their game, they're going to take it to MnM, they're not going to be worried about things.
And also being proactive, right, making things happen. That's one of the things that MnM have been known for during the group stages, was being a very proactive team, always kind of leading the tempo of the game, making sure they were the ones making the decisions. Xenex clearly looking at that and saying, we're going to be the ones in charge here.
Yeah,
well,
absolutely.
We'll see if they can keep that
up. Yeah,
we'll
see if they can keep it going. But I mean, that tends to happen when you do have like a stronger individual skill, as I believe that's kind of the matchup here. MnM more known for the individual skill, Xenex more known for their macro, but Sankox has jumped over, he's gone in.
Sankox wants this one. There's already summoners burnt for Hado, and he's going to be in a little bit of trouble. The Cocoon actually goes behind him onto Ludders. I'm not sure what happened there. Ludders will walk away with his life, though, and it means Sanko's gank is unfortunately unsuccessful.
That was a good attempt, though, and the Caitlyn trap just missed the stunned Ludders by a whisker there.
Yeah.
If they could have chained that kind of CC going up, quite possibly could have been a kill going over in Xenex's favor as well, but still, it's good. It's still decent. Maybe they could have got more, but still, they get some stuff out of it.
Yeah, still managed to get that flash out of Ludders, which, I mean, wasn't actually their target
no.
in the end, but still works out for them. Larson slowing away in this mid lane. Huge wave here, though, so should be able to pull ever so slightly ahead of Backland here, but nothing crazy. And I feel like we need to talk about this mid lane a little bit, because Larson and Backland both have been huge factors for their teams. They've both been heavy carries when the time comes. Especially Backland, multiple games, he has been pretty much kind of just hardcore 1v9ing just by getting that Katarina and getting so fed that no one can do anything.
Yeah, I mean, both these teams have their Scandinavian prodigies in the mid lane, and it's about which one can carry harder. They're both known to be able to carry quite hard, but it's not just in the mid lane. I mean, even if you just look right now, look at this matchup between Candyfloss and Sankus right here. If you are just looking at the CS totals, if you're sitting here on the Elise side, you're not particularly happy seeing that Rengar has 40 CS, 400 gold up, and nothing really has that. You know, you're 5 minutes into the game just through more efficient farming.
Yeah, almost 100 gold a minute gold difference with no assists or kills. That's pretty much unheard of, to be honest. This is a ridiculous lead for Candyfloss. Sankus not having a great start, and to be honest, Sankus is a guy that we've kind of hyped up a lot this season, especially when we've seen him on his Graves, but we saw his Graves banned away. So
and Lee Sin, I believe.
Yeah, we saw Graves banned away, Lee Sin was banned away, and we also saw the Katarina banned away from Backland, so very strategic target bans coming out from MnM.
Yeah, and I mean, if you can neuter the jungler to an extent, it does limit what happens in the early game. You can play your own style.
Prosper getting aggressed upon here, as Candyfloss will get stunned up himself, and Exhaust goes down. They're looking to finish this one off. Can they get the third stack? Can he get the Devour? Flashes on cooldown. Sankus takes a cue to the face and walks away.
If there were a tower there, Prosphere may have flashed for that one. But sadly, there was nothing for him to flash under, so he's going to say, no, I'm going to leave you on that one. I do think the flash was like 10 seconds off cooldown or something like that, so... But that's decent, you know, just a little bit of pressure, that's all good. Not sitting back at all, it's nice stuff.
Yeah, not resting on their laurels, making sure they're being proactive, still trying to make things happen in this series. 1-1 is the score, though. It's 7 minutes in the game. We've actually had a lot of action. The score is deceptively low for the amount of skirmishes we've had. But here we go, Backland in a 1v1 with Larson, has to flash away, but will survive.
Yeah, and that's a pretty big summoner to have down here, because Cassiopeia already is not the most mobile champion. So you get her flash down, she becomes a lot more vulnerable. We might be, especially with Candyfloss now hitting level 6 on that Rengar. It's a pretty big power spike. We could see something open up around this mid lane.
Larson going to be heading on down towards this bottom side of the map. It has been spotted though, so won't be able to pull anything crazy off of that one. The buffs will be respawning second rotation now, so you can see Candyfloss already on his red buff. Sankus stopping for the chickens first.
Yeah, the way this game is going so far, you have to think that MnM are happy with how this is going. I mean, Xenex, none of these teams really scream like, oh, we have to win in the lane phase. Yes, Caitlyn is very lane dominant, but you know, at least as well, you could argue is much more early game focused than the Rengar is. But honestly, like both these teams, if the game goes quite far on, they both should be okay in this sense. But also, you'll see with Vladimir too. Vlad is a champion. Yes, he's a mage and does a lot of damage, but he will be building MR early. And if you look at the kind of like early game stuff that this Vladimir will be walking into, Cassiopeia at least specifically, that means that he's going to be really, really hard to kill.
Yeah.
If he's stacking that MR early. So he should be able to get into his power spikes, make his team in phase as well. And I'm just expecting Candyfloss to do something crazy, because he's been farming really hard here. And he's got a significant advantage as far as that goes over Sankus. So.
And we're at the point in the game now where Rengar starts to come online.
Yeah.
He's got his ultimate. He can start to really affect the map and try and share the wealth, I guess. He's got himself a gold lead. Now he needs to get his team a gold lead. It's a 500 lead in favor of MnM, but 500 gold, not really enough to be majorly significant.
It's pretty much all on the jungler as well. Like, it's a massive gold lead from this perspective. And you'd have to think his target would be Backland here. You would think so just because of the summoner advantage, right? Vlad, not easy to gank for, but a no-flash Cassiopeia, Rengar by himself can facilitate that gank, right? So, and the Ignite as well on Vlad too. I mean, it should be able to happen. So,
The tricky thing is Cassiopeia is one of those champions that if the fight doesn't quite go right for you, if she can get a double stun, it can very quickly go south, even 2v1. So
definitely, and if Sankas can be there to counter gank as well,
yeah,
that would be something they would be looking to do.
That
for sure.
That's where the situation gets really dicey, really quick.
He's pushing out mid though. It's risky for him with no flash.
Candyfloss on his way, but he's not going to be able to find anything here, I don't think. Backland, back away. Sankas down in this bottom side. But look at the vision across the map right now. It is all MnM. They've got wards fairly deep down on the bottom side, fairly deep down top side, but Backland will get aggressed upon here. No flash available. Stand United isn't enough. Candyfloss takes one more hit. He goes down as well. It's another one for one.
That's good. I mean, we talked about it. It'll probably happen around the mid lane. The Rengar by himself can facilitate the gank. The flash pull from Vladimir, the world-renowned initiator of ganks right there.
Oh, yeah.
Making it happen. The Ignite ticking down as well. The Shen buys Backland enough time to be able to return the gank as well. Doesn't save his life, but it gives him some time, so that's good. They trade there.
Yeah. Prospect gets rooted up here. Hado does need to be careful though. You can't really afford to let that Devour stack up 3 times. That's when you get in some real trouble. All in all, these bottom lane trades, while they're not resulting in too many kills, there is a significant lead starting to be built up by Xenex.
Yes, in the bot lane most certainly. 10 CS is what you would probably be expecting from a Caitlyn lane, known to be bullying, but Prosphere is actually getting a little bit caught in that bot lane.
Yeah, Prosphere has used his thick skin there.
And the exhaust.
Oh yeah, actually had to use an exhaust as well, so quite a big swing in favor of MnM. Now that CS lead has closed a little bit, but Inax had just gone back to base, so he's going to be able to come back to the lane. We'll get at least one free wave for himself before Ludus is back, so we'll see how that pans out. Larson actually getting bullied a little bit now by the Snake in this mid lane. Backland almost has his splash available as well, so wouldn't be too surprised to see him start to get aggressive.
Yes, and Cassiopeia does push pretty hard, but the thing with Vlad as well is that as he gains levels, he can start matching this push. He doesn't want to be under tower farming. I mean, he's already got a fairly decent CS lead, to be honest. But if he does get stuck under tower constantly, he will struggle. But at this level, low cooldowns, spamming his abilities, if he ever gets harassed, I mean, look at his health. He's back to full health again, you know. It doesn't really stick too much when you have the resistances and the regen.
Yeah, and that's the key thing. The magic resist that he built up early means that he can just sit in this lane pretty much forever. No mana issues to talk about when you're playing that Vladimir. Actually, got a bit of a dive coming in here. Xenex going for this one. Flash shoots away, but it gets caught by the Cocoon. Ace in the hole. Inax grabs a kill.
Oh, you don't like to see that. That feels bad.
Yeah.
That one right there feels bad. You'll use your summoner and you still get caught by the thing you're trying to dodge. Though at least the Cocoon wasn't going to miss in the first place and then he flashed into it.
Yeah.
That would be a little bit worse.
Yeah, ever so slightly worse, but all things considered, neither situation is particularly fun. Prospect tanking up the tower a little bit. Candyfloss, he wants more right now. They want to punish Xenex for this one. Sankas takes so much damage. Prospect saves his jungler's life though. And with that teleport from both sides, the things will be diffused.
Slight advantage from Xenex on that double TP play there because there was a big minion wave pushing into Tempo there, so he did miss a wave or so of minions having to TP down bot. But all in all, not too bad because Rengar uses his ultimate as well, and that's a big cooldown down.
Yeah, a little bit interested in the fact that Shikari used teleport there instead of just Stand United to get down to the bottom lane.
That is
it was available.
Yeah.
I don't know whether he's maybe saving that in case Backland gets ganked in the near future, or...
Yeah, I mean, ideally you would say, like, if you've got something which has a lower cooldown, you would want to use that, right? Which is the point you're making, but TP isn't quite the defensive, doesn't have quite the defensive aspects that a Shen ultimate does have. So if he is just thinking, okay, we really want to just get through this lane phase, I'm going to save the defensive spell, then it makes sense from that perspective, and I guess only time will tell whether or not that was the right decision.
And I mean, we keep on talking about how Xenex are this team that relies on their strategy. Prospero was saying it in his interview earlier. They intend on being the first team that wins the UK Premiership without just being mechanically better players. So realistically, you expect this team to try and push towards the mid and late game rather than force the issue early on. And so maybe just thinking, I'm not going to need this teleport in the next few minutes.
A bit of deja vu coming down here again, though.
Yeah, here we go. Prosper going on in. Hado going to be ulted straight away and will be finished off. Venomous bite from Sankers sinks his teeth into yet another target. And now this tower could be in trouble. Ludus actually went down as well. Somehow got caught out in that situation. As Backlund did rotate down, and now this first tower of the game should go down. But as you say, it is a race. They're pushing in the top lane as well. It looks like actually MnM might be able to steal this one away. They are going to get the medal.
That was very close though, very close. But good proactive plays coming out of Xenex again, which is really what you want to see from like a fresher team coming into this, their first LAN experience. As we were saying at the beginning, MnM do have quite seasoned veterans on their team as well.
Oh, here we go. Larssen wants the tower dive right now, and he's probably going to get it. Backlund flashes away, but Larssen follows him. It's a solo kill in the mid lane.
For the seasoned veteran that I was talking about, no nerves here. Larssen, no problem. Goes straight in with the tower dive of all things.
Yeah, cool as a cucumber, as Adam Savage would say. Here we go, Prosper stunned against the wall. No chance to use his shield, as he's just decimated. Sanka's now going toe-to-toe with Tempo, but I'm not sure that's a good idea. Stand United will be used just to try and keep Sanka's alive. And MnM, they've just put their foot down.
They have, and I'm just curious as to why. I didn't quite see, but Shikari didn't use his ultimate to save Backlund there, and I'm assuming it was up. I'm thinking it was up there, but I didn't get to see him use it, so maybe I'm wrong or something there. But if you could, in theory, if Shen was able to save Backlund there, I mean, that was probably a turnaround as well, right? But these kind of plays, like that brute force tower dive, it's a confident play, but to a certain extent, you could argue it's a slightly arrogant play in the sense that Shen has potential to save that there, you know, like to save the Cassiopeia. So these are the kind of plays that
almost just disrespectful plays.
To a certain extent, you could argue.
Kind of, I feel like that's the mentality that MnM have come into this game with. Like, we saw the interview, it was kind of taking a jab at Xenex. So certainly, it feels like MnM right now, they're feeling confident in this game and not too nervous. But to be honest, talking to the players, talking to the coaches, both teams seem very confident coming into this one. So it's an interesting situation we're in where both teams consider themselves the favorite.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that's needed as well. I mean, we were talking about slightly disrespectful or arrogant play. I mean, those are probably wrong words because those have negative connotations to them, but you just got to have confidence, really.
Oh, Backlund gets a double stun right there. Larssen is around as well, though. Candy Floss flashing for this kill. Backlund still surviving, only just will get away with his life. Larssen chasing him down, though, will finish it off the kill in the end. Now, Hado all on his own as Xenex has arrived, looking for the ace in the hole. Venomous bite. Not quite in range for this one, but they have to walk out underneath the tower. Hado can't afford to take this tower shot. He goes down 2 for 1. Now Ludus is in trouble as well. Absolute chaos on the map. Prosper devours him, using that thick skin to keep himself alive, and Larssen gets stunned up. Inax dishing out the damage on this Caitlyn. Ludus just trying to escape with his life. He's run out of mana. Flash away from Prosper. He goes down. Now Larssen trying to finish off the kills. Does get one in the end, but Inax will finish it off.
On to the kooky spooks, as they say. And he's down. Goodbye. That was, I mean, again, quite aggressive. I don't want to use the word disrespectful, because I really don't think that sounds rude, but you know, just very aggressive plays, really. Very aggressive plays coming out of MnM. I mean, they started all of that. They almost got away with it as well, but then the meddling kids from Xenex
definitely didn't go the way that it was planned for either team there. Very, very messy fight and awkward situation for Xenex, because Larssen, while he did die at the end, Vladimir in a fight that long can just dish out the damage as much as he wants. And you can see 4-1-1 right now. He's got a CS lead as well. Larssen is starting to get pretty damn scary.
Yeah, he has, and you can see as well the fact that he had gained that advantage in the early meant that he was able to get the Ludens first. This is a build that we actually saw, I believe Piglet did this in the NALCS, but he wasn't actually ahead at the time, and it wasn't very effective because he was just too squishy. I mean, people tend to play Vlad in the mid lane more as just like a tank, really. Like, they don't necessarily build the standard AP items.
He's like this, he's a strange version of a mage, because he almost has that global taunt that Teemo has, where you want to focus him because he's a mid lane, but you can't afford to focus him because he has too much tank ability.
Yes.
Larssen not going for that build though.
Yes, he is a Riot special of carry, where they carry but don't die at the same time. So, I mean, in these situations when you get ahead, you can obviously kind of transition more into damage, because obviously his damage dealer at heart, but that means that if we get into these fights, he's able to just dish out a huge amount of damage, but he does die quite fast as well. So
now, since we talked about how far ahead Larson is, it feels only fair that we also talk about how far ahead Xenex is right now. 3-0-4 already, just 20 minutes into the game, 180 CS for himself. Actually, 1,500 gold ahead of his opponent, but he hasn't been back to base in quite a while. So currently on even items. So it's important to remember that if a fight starts before Xenex has gone back to base, this gold lead means nothing.
Yeah. But you have to also argue that why would MnM want to pick a fight at this point? There's nothing really to contest here. Unless they try to go for some kind of really cheeky Baron, which they probably won't. But there's no Dragon up. Maybe they would want to go and push the tower, but how are you going to siege versus Caitlyn and Cassiopeia? That's going to be really difficult to do as well. Diving versus Time Genshin Shen, probably not on the menu either.
Yeah.
So starting a fight here seems unlikely. And talking about those gold leads that you were mentioning before, Caitlyn does have that nice advantage, like you were saying. To be expected, really, out of a Caitlyn in the lane phase, and the fact that she got a crap ton of kills helps as well. But the jungle difference here is quite interesting because Candy Floss was way ahead of Sankus in this early game. Like really, like 5 minutes, 500 gold lead. And now it's like 300 or 400 gold. Yeah, it's like 300 gold here, so that's good. You know, that means that Sankus, and he only needs to transition into like a cocoon bot really at this stage of the game anyway, and as the game goes on, so he doesn't need gold.
It's almost a stylistic difference, right? In that we've seen Candy Floss has been a farming machine, right? He's been mopping up these camps, whereas Sankus, he's got his gold from making sure he's there for his team, being part of these skirmishes.
Yes.
Had a bit of a group up here. Xenex might try and start to siege onto this mid lane. It'll be difficult against an Ashe, though.
That is... Sometimes you use Caitlyn ult to poke. And this, to me, suggests that they're trying to go for the siege. You're just poking the enemy team off, but... Here comes the Rengar ulti. Is he going to jump in?
3 people available with a Tahm Kench. This should be pretty easy to avoid. Yeah, Candy Floss wants to go in, but that's a very difficult target to go in on.
It's difficult, and that cocoon whiffed by not much. If that cocoon lands, Rengar doesn't have that CC removal anymore. If that lands, you're standing there. Yes, you can heal up if you come out of it afterwards. And you've got the move speed, but if you die, I mean, he's not particularly tanky.
And you've got to bear in mind as well that there's a lot of damage coming out from Sankus and Xenex right now. Those are the guys that are fed on this side of...
and those are the ones he was jumping in on.
Exactly.
Probably not the best choices.
So, you know, had things gone ever so slightly different, that could have looked really nice for Xenex. But one thing we didn't mention is obviously the Cloud Drake was taken earlier on by Xenex. Now, obviously, Cloud Drake, not the most impactful Drake in the game. However, does mean that Drake is now on rotation, so we'll see more Drake start to come in, and when we get later on into the game, that Elder Drake just makes every single one of those even more effective.
Yeah, and I think Cloud Dragon is a dragon that is more valuable and competitive than in solo queue, and specifically to teams that are better with macro than those who aren't as good with macro.
Which is what we've been hailing Xenex for.
Exactly. So Xenex getting a Cloud Dragon, it means that their macro, their rotations are that bit better. Especially with a team like they have. I mean, Cassiopeia with that move speed, she ain't going to say no to that. She's going to like that. So it's still, yeah, it's not the best dragon. Like, I'm sure there are other dragons that Xenex would, I mean, Infernal obviously, and Mountain are the biggest ones, but it's still, you know, a team like Xenex who do have that kind of macro skill about them. That's one of their strengths. They will still get used out of that Cloud.
So, I think since the game's kind of slowed down a little bit here, let's take an opportunity to talk about the fact that Xenex haven't been... This isn't a team of champions, right? When we look at the lineup of MnM, there's a lot of big players that have been in the scene for a long time. Xenex, however, while they've got some players that have been around a long time, they're not necessarily champion players. Like, where did this squad come from? How are they able to be so successful all of a sudden?
I mean, that's a good question. I mean, some of it all... saying has had a... Oh, wow.
Look at the damage coming out right now. Candy Floss has gone in on his own here. Will be able to walk away with his life redemption coming on down from both sides. Repel followed through. Hado walks away though. Stand United coming through onto Sankus. They will be able to finish off Candy Floss here as well. Double kill comes through for Sankus. He got target banned in the draft phase, but it's not enough to shut him down.
That's good. That's what they want to do. And from here, they can set up a siege. They can go for the tower. I mean, Baron could be on the cards as well. It's a little bit early, but they do have a very tanky team. And Cassiopeia is actually a machine gun mage if they wanted to go for it.
Would be very risky, though.
It would, against Vlad specifically, and considering he's their Fed member, risky is a good word.
Oh, Larson actually having to use his pull here. Ultimate only onto one. No flash taunt. Larson stunned, as is Tempo. Nowhere to go, my friend, and he will drop down as well. Or will he actually? Walking away with this one for now. Xenex using that ultimate to get further on in. Luders on the backline, but Devour once again saving yet another member. Sankus did go down, but it's a 2-for-1.
That taunt flash was filthy. Dirty out of Shikari there. Which is interesting because I was standing by the players earlier today and they were talking about how they think it's a massive mismatch.
No junglers here right now. Does get it with a headshot in the end. Inax the one to grab this one, but they're going back in. Prosper, the target right now. Candy Floss jumping in, but Prosper's so tanky, and Inax does so much damage already in this game. Tempo getting onto the backline though, will get onto Inax, but he just doesn't dish enough damage out. He just can't finish off these kills. Or can he? Manages to get it. Tempo! Beautiful bit of play. It's a 1-for-1.
Not too bad. Canonfloss lucky to escape with his life, but it's another dragon over to Inax there. Inax. Xenex, sorry. Well, yes, both actually, because Inax did get the last hit there. But that is another ocean dragon going over to not one of the more important dragons again. I feel like if Xenex here had picked up 2 Infernals, maybe these guys would be rolling in it. But as it goes, it could certainly be worse.
Yeah. And I think one thing as well we've failed to mention so far is when you take a look at Inax right now, yes, he is a very Fed member, but take a look at how many assists he has as well. The kill participation on this guy right now is insane. 12 out of 14 kills he's been a part of. Not as an AD carry, it's not something you see all too often.
No, and what's quite nice as well, that would suggest that he is more, being more team focused.
Yeah.
And Caitlyn is a champion who is renowned for being a 3-item power spike champion. Some champions in this game are like 2-item power spikes, like Ez with the Triforce and Muramana. Caitlyn's a 3-item, which means she needs 3 core items before she really starts popping off. Yeah. And Inax has delayed his 3-item power spike to get an Executioner's calling. That's what he did this game. He's very much focused on that team play. We were talking to the coach from Xenex as well earlier today, saying that Inax is the player who has transitioned the most from solo queue style to team play, and we're seeing it here. He's certainly doing a good job on that front. It really is.
Now the siege begins in this mid lane. Red buff on Inax will mean that he gets that extra tiny bit of damage onto the towers, but they do have to back away for now because they lost sight of Larson.
You don't want to lose sight of Larson.
No, you do not. You do not want that Vladimir flanking you.
No, this Vlad is still really strong. He hasn't done much recently. He was 4-1-1 like 10 minutes ago. Now he's 4-2-1. But he's still been farming, still getting there.
And that's kind of the thing with Vladimir as well, is yes, he hasn't done much recently, but you kind of don't need to. No. You can just, you're one of the best late game champions in the entire game.
Yeah, he doesn't need to. He's not on some kind of ticking time bomb, that's for sure. Definitely not from Vlad. So he's happy just farming up, and a bit of a wet noodle fight happening in the bot lane there. Not much going on. Someone's trying desperately to deal damage, but I mean, they're even standing on top of each other on the minimap. We can see them dashing in and taunting each other. Still nothing happening. Although, to be fair, it's still nothing happening.
Ultimate coming out from Candy Floss. He's looking for a target. Redemption will come down very early. Sanka's very low on this one. And actually, they've already picked up Inax. Prosper, he's devoured Backland. But is it enough to keep him alive? Stand United won't go through in the end. It's 2 kills. Make it 3 for MnM.
That was a really nice flank from Candy Floss. And that was a very nice communication play. The insta redemption before Candy Floss was even really that close. And they're just perfectly timed on that one. I think, honestly, dropping the ball on that front with the... As soon as you see that redemption going down, you kind of think, oh, Candy Floss is probably coming in here. You should probably match your own, but... Shikari's trying to match here.
Yeah, teleports in for this one.
Probably not going to work.
Quite happy to 2v1 that one, though, in the meantime. MnM started off this Baron already. Shikari going back in onto Larson, just trying to do what he can, but Sankas has been locked down and will be finished off. That's surely guarantees this Baron for MnM as they try and whittle down the big purple worm. 2,000 HP remaining. They will be able to finish it and smite it away. Huge objective for MnM. And after a rocky start, after a very even, skirmishy match, MnM finally have a significant lead.
It's got to be quite frustrating if you're on Xenex's side there. You feel like you're playing a bit of a calculated game, small macro advantages building up, and then MnM just blow you out and take the Baron.
Yeah.
So not great from Xenex's perspective, and also not great considering MnM do scale quite well into the game. It's not like, you know, you've got much to look forward to in the late game, so you're just going to have to find a way to outplay him still. But Xenex, with his scaling and with the Tahm Kench to protect him, he went down so early in that fight that happened before Baron.
Yeah.
No consume coming out from Tahm Kench there, so...
And it's a shame to see them kind of fall to that flank when we saw how well they were respecting the flank earlier on in the game. Clearly, vision just wasn't there. Xenex going to move on out into this lane as Prosper, trying to be proactive with his dive, but not really able to find a target yet again. It is quite a slow ultimate, so a lot of the time, if there's another route available, it's very easy to escape.
It is easy to react to. We saw when they were having success with it in the lane phase, they just stuck it on the tower. I mean, that's like your only safety escape route if you're, you know, is your own tower. Tahm Kench doesn't care about that too much though, but in that situation, just running away and now getting good use of the Baron as well. With sticking Poppy in the top lane. Poppy doesn't have to worry about Shen in the 1v1, so Poppy can just look at her. She's even got the Iceborne, so she does even more damage to this tower. She's tanking the tower and still taking it under Shen's nose.
Yeah, there's nothing Shikari can do about that one. Mid lane tier 2 goes down as well. This is a huge gold swing going the way of MnM. 8,000 ahead now. We, like, what, 5 minutes ago, we were looking at an even game. This is snowballing out of control. A third Cloud Drake, or second Cloud Drake, sorry, will be on the board, and it'll be the first Drake for MnM this game when that one comes on down. And MnM starting to really sweep up objectives, starting to really sweep up advantages, and now at 30 minutes, the next thing they've got to look at is these inhibitors.
Yeah, I'm just thinking from Xenex's perspective here, could you imagine if that dragon was an Infernal? Like, you had complete control in the early game, you secured 2 dragons, and they were garbage dragons, really, let's be real. And then the enemy team would have picked up an Infernal. That would have been spiritually a backbreaker.
Yeah, salt in the wounds right there.
But it's just another Cloud, so I guess that's not too bad. And yeah, like you say, inhibitors, towers, or well, there's no open inhibitor yet, so they have to go for towers first, but they have a very good split pushing comp because Poppy doesn't really have to worry about anyone who he faces, really. I mean, maybe Cassiopeia could run him down and kill him, but he's not going to be facing Cassiopeia because Larsen's facing Cassiopeia and doing a pretty good job of earning him around as well.
Yeah, and that's one of the difficult things is that Baron facilitates this 1v1 so much. Backlund has to back away when those hefty minions charge on forward. It has to focus on trying to clear them before they take out the tower. Tempo now heading towards this mid lane so that he can threaten that flank should his team start to become under threat. But they are going to back away now. And Baron just about to end. So inhibitors remain and a bit of breathing room now for Xenex.
I feel like they had a little bit more time on that Baron. I think it would have been nice for them to stay out a little bit here because if you saw that they had a good push going on in the mid lane, they were kind of bullying that bot lane tower as well, bullying Backlund in that bot lane.
Yeah.
And they had a slow pushing top as well. And when they still have Baron minions, that's like 3 lanes that Xenex then would have to defend against Baron as well, which would have been very difficult for them to do.
That backing off early as well shows not only that MnM respect their opponents, but also it shows that kind of mentality of, okay, this is on land, these are all very important games, let's not bite off more than we can chew. Let's maybe back away just a little bit. We don't want to get overconfident and end up throwing away this lead that we've just gained.
Yeah, I mean, a little bit of respect coming out to Xenex because as a macro-focused team, they would be good at understanding how to defend these kind of things. Or you would imagine that would be one of their strengths, and also not only defending against it, but how to punish you when you misplay it. So I think being let off a little bit here from Xenex, I feel like if this were a solo queue game, they would have just MnM would have just kept bulldozing there and seeing what they could get. But this is not solo queue. This is the wonderful world of UK League of Legends. Nothing like solo queue.
Not at all. Well, there was a couple of fights earlier on that looked a little bit solo queue.
A bit like solo queue.
But certainly when it comes to the macro game for these two teams, not even remotely close. Now Backlund trying to defend in this bottom lane. Prosper did get stunned up there. Will walk away with his life though, and has a lot of regen on that Tahm Kench, so not too much of an issue. That was Ludder's enchanted crystal arrow coming through, so that's going to be on cooldown, but not the biggest cooldown in the world.
No, especially when he's got that build that he has right now with the Essence Reaver, really high CDR. It is quite a smart pick, picking this Tahm Kench into Ashe, because it means you can just devour anyone who gets arrowed and just nullify the arrow completely. But if you do arrow the Tahm Kench, he can't devour himself. So, but you don't really want to arrow Tahm Kench because you're not going to kill him in an arrow. So it's a really nice pick into Ashe for that reason. You saw the attempt, you know, at trying to arrow someone that couldn't be consumed. It didn't work because it just doesn't take any damage.
I'm curious to see what happens in a fight when Inax doesn't get caught out at this point in the game, because Inax, he's been quiet for a little while. We were talking about his kill participation things, but they haven't actually got a kill since that conversation. That was nigh on 10 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Since they got caught in the mid lane and Inax was the first to go down in the fight, we haven't seen them really skirmish. So it's going to be intriguing to see if we do get another fight scenario where no one's caught out.
Ooh, that's cool.
Speaking of, Candy Floss goes in very aggressively, as you say.
He's tanky now, though. Very tanky. So when he jumps in, at least he won't instantly die like he risks doing in the past. And to go off of your point that you were saying, Xenex hasn't skirmished, but they haven't really had an opportunity to skirmish. They lost Baron, and what's happened since then? MnM's just been pushing and getting objectives and destroying pretty much the whole side of their map. And if they are going to skirmish, it's going to be once the objectives have reset a little bit and they're starting to respawn, and that's what's kind of happening here. You see the teams now are fighting for vision around Baron, because Baron's about to come up soon. And you can guarantee that Xenex do not want to lose this Baron for free. Certainly not. So we should see something going to be popping off soon, and I think a lot revolves around Backlund and Inax, and Backlund dead.
If it revolves around Backlund, it's a bad situation for Xenex because he's gone down, and this tower might just follow. Less than half remaining, and it will drop in the end. This is going to be an inhibitor, but Candy Floss wants more kills first. He's looking for blood. Goes on to Sanka's, but it is just going to force everybody away as the siege continues. Larssen happy to tank up this tower for his team as they head over towards this bottom lane now, and the siege banging away at these inhibitor towers. It's starting to look like Xenex are all but out in this game. Prosper will be locked up, can't even get his shield off. Sanka's the next target, repels up, and he will come down again. It drops, and it's going to be Shikari, the last man remaining. He might get away with his life, but it doesn't matter because this game might be over if they can push quick enough.
You would have to imagine it's heading that way. I mean, we were saying this Ashe arrow not particularly useful against Tahm Kench, but when Backlund is standing nowhere near Tahm Kench, it's enough to take him down with both summoners up still.
Backlund's alive now. This is the last-ditch effort for Xenex. They've got to try and protect this tower. Ultimate comes on through. He's exhausted immediately, though. Backlund trying to kite away. Ludus goes down to the tower, as does Shikari, though. There's no one else alive, and the Nexus is bare. Shikari will fall once again. The Guardian Angel not saving him for long. And Agitator just going to chase that one through, gets the ace in the end, and they take the first game in the series.
That was looking like it would be quite a good game for Xenex there, and then it all just fell apart. It was looking so promising, but no.
There was a very key moment.
Very key moment
where they were sieging in the mid lane, they get flanked, and all of that lead that they built, all of that work they put in kind of starts to fall apart. It starts to unravel between their fingers. And MnM, we've said it before in the past, MnM is a team that if they get an opportunity, they will just start to run away with things. They will just turn that into a snowball and just push that all the way home.
Yeah, you saw them going quite aggressive at times as well, and it wasn't really working out.
Yeah.
But then they made the proactive play that did work out for them, and you saw what happened. The game was pretty much over from that point, which is, you have to imagine from a mentality point of view as well, Xenex here. This is their first LAN, and Backlund specifically getting caught out to kind of lose your team in the game. Not that he was the reason they lost, but you know, the catalyst of what put forth that into motion. That's a tough one to lose. Got to bounce back.
One of the things that both of the teams had been saying to me before the games was the first game, because I was asking basically, do you think whoever loses the first game, is it just going to kind of be tilt fest and everything goes from there? Both teams kind of came back with a no, in that they feel like the first game is mostly about scouting out your opponent, figuring out what's going to be going on. Because let's remember, these guys haven't properly faced each other before. When they first met in the group stages, it wasn't a strong iteration of MnM. It wasn't the actual roster. They had Furion as AD carry, Charlie T in there somewhere as well, and so it wasn't them at their full strength.
Yeah.
Now they've actually seen each other play a little bit more.
Yeah, so there wasn't that opportunity, like you're saying, that previous matchup to do the scouting. So that first game serving that purpose, but it's you still don't want to lose games. Even if you're scouting, you still want to be able to win them. And I would be surprised to see Cannonfloss get Rengar. Okay, no, I mean he's done that. That's not the first time he's popped off from Rengar. Let me just say that. So
the 40-6 CS or whatever lead at the start kind of says a lot about that game. We do have an interview ready on stage though, so let's pass it over and see what the winners had to say.
Thank you very much. I'm joined now by Will, coach of MnM Gaming. A great start to proceedings. How are the team feeling right now?
Yeah, we're feeling really good. We came in thinking that maybe we could win the first game, but they might have something prepared. So we're pretty happy with the first game win, and hopefully we can continue this momentum.
Well, let's go back to right at the beginning, the pick and ban phase. Were you surprised by their selection at all, or did you expect what was coming?
No, not really. We were pretty confident with what they would pick and what they would ban. It kind of went pretty well for us, and I feel like we won the draft phase, so that was a good start.
And as a coach as well, your role is obviously pivotal in how things. It's true. As a coach, what are you doing as the game's progressing? How are you inspiring your players to continue what they're doing?
Sure. So, specifically in between games, I just remind them of all the things they've been practicing, all of the sort of things that we've been working on, these sort of key focus points, and then just sort of keep their head in the game. Really, don't let the egos get in the way or anything like that, and try and keep them focused on the win.
Superb. Well, guys, let's make some noise for Will and MnM Gaming. Make some noise! Fantastic start. Okay, 1-0 to MnM Gaming. Let's head up to our casters, analysts, and to Machine and find out what you guys made of that very first game.
Thank you very much, Adam. Yes, indeed. First win goes to MnM. And as anticipated from everyone here on the panel, you both did say, of course, joining me, we do have none other than Scornsy, apparently. Scudsy joining me, and of course, Ferndog. Now, what I want to talk about first here, gentlemen, is the fact that, yes, MnM did it, but it wasn't necessarily in the way that we anticipated. It looked, at the start of things, we were going to have that Xenex start that they needed. You set it up. You said Xenex have to take us into the long game. That was in the 40-minute region. We got what you wanted, but what was absent in the Xenex checklist?
Okay, so in the early game, 100% correct. Sanka's put pressure down. The objective was to try and skip Kate through that, what becomes from an early game strength to a mid game kind of power trough and a weakness. And she needed to skip through that to hit her late game spikes as early as possible. And they actually did that very, very well with the use of Tahm Kench ult and the early Elise pressure. What was the misplay was that once they got to that strength, Caitlyn should never die. With Tahm Kench, with Shen, it should be very, very difficult to kill Caitlyn. And then they aggressively siege into tier 2 mid, and Caitlyn somehow, we would have to check the replay for that exactly, but doesn't seem to get Shen ulted and doesn't also seem to get devoured by Tahm Kench and dies before that can come out. And if she dies, Cassio is behind anyway in the game, and there's not enough damage in the comp to actually deal with what MnM have to offer after that point.
Serge, the question does remain, and it was a recurring theme in the discussion with the casters as well. The word is not necessarily disrespectful, but positive, cocky, very aggressive from MnM. Did you see elements of that confidence oozing through in their gameplay?
A little bit. I mean, Candyfloss made some questionable decisions in the early game that I spotted in a jungle path. I mean, he managed to get a huge lead over Sankas. He had almost double the CS, 2 levels up, huge lead over Sankas in the early game. Once you're level 6 and the Elise is level 4, you have to start forcing plays on bot lane with the Ashe arrow. It is like the Caitlyn and the Tahm Kench have absolute no kill pressure over the enemy lane unless the Elise comes.
Right.
All you have to do is leave the Poppy top in a 1v1 against the Shen to interrupt the Stand United, put the Rengar bot lane, initiate with the Ashe arrow, and get the double kill bot lane, and maybe even the triple kill, because you definitely win 3v3. Sure. Try and get that first tower down, and then try and snowball the game like that and set up a pace.
In his defense, we did see Sankas come bot lane, we did see a kill go down. Was that just, you needed more of that? You wanted that repeat?
No, I mean, Candyfloss should have
done more of that. Okay, apply more pressure.
Once he got that lead.
Yeah, to counter gank the Elise ganks.
Understood, okay. So, well, with all of that said, we are ready to have some additional play broken down. We'll be continuing our discussion in just a moment, but first, let's head over to Desert Chew, who's got some fantastic replays to take a look at.
Hi guys, welcome over to the weather station as I've taken to calling it so far today. Some really good fights in that game. A bit of a quiet and slow start to that game, needless to say, but some very, very interesting fights kicking off. First one I wanted to talk about was the first blood that came across here onto Battleland. We knew MnM wanted to try and focus him down. We knew that was a core focal point for them here. Rengar ultimate comes out, you know pretty much what's going to happen. A bit of an aggressive play coming out from Larsen at first, but here Candy Floss just with the poison ticking down and that final tower shot just enough to bring him down. A little bit of over-aggression maybe. And MnM didn't seem to think so. Now, one thing they didn't seem to realise was Inax constantly was the focus here for Xenex. Wanted to get him ahead. Twice they made this play coming through with the Tarm and Elise combo. He went down nice and easy. Lourdes here, he had nowhere to go very, very quickly and easily picked off and closed down by the team. A double kill, giving Inax a very, very good lead. Now, one thing to talk about here before we jump into this clip was constantly we saw MnM playing very, very deep into the enemy jungle. They were going for wards. You can see Tiempo off here onto the right-hand side. They weren't respecting the catch potential of the Elise here, which is exactly what we see happen in this clip. Candy Floss has to dive in to try and save his support, gets himself brought very, very low off the back of it as well, and it's just a continuous chase coming forward here as well. Sankus with the flash and repel, pretty aggressive, but did manage to pick themselves up 2 extra kills. And all in all, of course, Shikari piling in as well. Very, very good fights for Xenex, and they had 3 of these in a row. This next clip is where it all turns around. MnM, we've been speaking about the aggression, arguably cockiness, it definitely started showing here. Okay, they completely whiffed the Ash ult, but it did not matter. They completely deathballed through the enemy team, wiped them all out, and this was the start of the Baron play that came through for MnM eventually, leading them to start getting the huge lead that we saw them begin to close out with. The final play, of course, we're going to jump to is the one where they're pushing through here, the game-winning fight, as it were. Just again, MnM not needing to show much respect to their opponents. They could charge through, not worry about taking damage on the front line, and just completely close things out onto the back of this one. All in all, a very, very clean game coming through from MnM. Showing maybe a bit of a masterclass as Xenex here. Xenex needing to step up, maybe shake off those land nerves and really start defining themselves in this series. Otherwise, Game 2 could end up going very much so the same way as Game 1.
Yeah, no, Derry, actually, we had a discussion just as you were walking through that fight, prior to the game-winning fight, as you dubbed it. I know, Serge and Josh, you started saying that that was where the game was almost lost. That was where the boulder started to fall. And I would let you expand upon that. You're saying Caitlyn should never die in that scenario.
No, I mean, as we've spoken about previous to this first game, if MnM get something, like a small lead or something that can help snowball, they'll win the game from it, as you could clearly see. Like, the Caitlyn dying due to the Tahm Kench not reacting quick enough with the Devour, or the Shen stand United just wasn't quick enough to help the Caitlyn survive. If the Caitlyn dies straight away, the rest of the team gets mopped up. You get a free Baron, and then you have people... I'm pretty sure Shen tried to linger about there to try and help the Baron, to try and sort of salvage the moment. And then he dies again, and then it's just a sort of clown fiesta of just one by one pouring in, which just leads into huge goal deficits. And then with a Baron, they can start pushing into every lane.
So who do we point the finger at? Do we point the finger at Tahm, or do we point the finger at Caitlyn?
I'd say probably. I don't think it's anyone's fault.
Oh, come on! Stop trying to be a good guy.
I think it's the protection.
That's on Tahm.
I think it needs to be Tahm and Shen. They need to realise the importance that Caitlyn lives in these fights, and even if they have to sacrifice themselves to do so, they do not win the fight if she dies, and that's of utmost importance. And if once the initial engage comes out from MnM, the Rengar ult, the Ashe arrow, once that's gone, MnM have no way of stopping the siege after that, because there is no longer any way to engage on Caitlyn. So if you survive that initial engage, then you're at a situation where you're now probably going to lose 2 towers in the cooldowns of Rengar ult, Ashe ult.
Now, we did draw attention to Tempo in the pre-match. We talked about his prowess in the top lane and what he's capable of. We saw him picking Poppy and just being a bit of a nuisance. Is there anything really to write home about what we saw from that top lane from him, or did the win come from elsewhere, Josh?
I think the win was elsewhere. I think he's just becoming the meat shield of the front line that he needed to be once he got through the laning phase. The laning phase was never an issue. He's against a Shen. Shen does probably more percentage health damage.
Free farming?
And realistically, both can free farm. Poppy has the potential to push and can actually, if Shen doesn't itemize into a Tiamat, can push and make it difficult for Shen to ever ult away from the lane, or he loses a lot. And we actually saw, although it's probably not a huge impact on the overall game, what Poppy did find was a massive CS lead. I think she was 40 or 50 CS up at one point, which shouldn't happen in that. And that means that either Shikari wasn't getting enough out of his Shen ult usage, or he was just missing CS, maybe due to nerves. But equally, it led into a mid-game where MnM's comp is actually slightly stronger than Xenex, who had a real trough in the mid-game, especially if Kate didn't get as ahead as she did, meaning that the Poppy was actually quite pivotal with regards to when it came to the team fight.
Yeah. Now, I do have a slightly newbie question, and this is just for me. This is perhaps there's a couple of newbie viewers out there as well. But at one point we did see, past level 6, Shen choosing to TP to bot lane as opposed to use his ult.
We were talking about that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So
that's an error.
That is just a flat error. There's no...
Yeah, that should not happen. Unless he was maybe concerned about the target of Stand United getting bursted too quickly, and then he just wanted to be there no matter if the target dies or not, because as you know, the Shen ult gets cancelled if the target dies.
Okay.
I don't think that's worth it.
Yeah, I think on a thought process kind of level for Shikari is that he tried to save backland in the mid lane when Rengar ulted in and Vlad went in, as we saw. Backland died even through the Stand United, and perhaps he was thinking that that would be the same, so he didn't want to invest Stand United and then have to TP in after and actually be perhaps to the fight late. He thought there was going to be more of a skirmish than there was, but MnM were able to not fully engage into that and disengage halfway through, and they actually got the TP out of Shen for no resources needed each.
Not too shabby, and a big win from MnM. We'll see if they can indeed stand up in their second game as well. We are going to be taking a quick break though to catch our breath, and the players can go get themselves a slice of orange or whatever the hell they do in their break. Either way though, you guys during your break have something much funner to do. You can go ahead and win yourself a PC. That's right, head over to esl.pm/Omen giveaway, and the guys over at HP powered by Omen, or Omen powered by HP, makes a little bit more sense. Either way, you can check it out. It's about £1,500 PC, and the giveaway does end tonight, so you've got no excuse. Get in while you still can, and you can get yourself a big fancy new gaming rig to see League of Legends in all its beauty. Either way, we are going to be taking a break. While you check that out, and we do return, it will be time to see if MnM can replicate the success they found in their first game. We'll be talking to Josh and Serge all about it after this.